Okay, so everybody would like to welcome you to the Playground to Premiership podcast. I'm really looking forward to getting involved over the next few months with lots of different people in the world of football, and hopefully they give us their experiences from literally the playground to the Premiership. So, one of my first guests, and thank you, Cookie, for coming. I'll give you a very good build-up, obviously, on social media. Walsall's best ever talent, allegedly. But thanks so much for coming on.
No worries.
Is that true?
No.
Walsall's best ever talent?
I don't know, mate.
No. I mean, what I wanted to get to is, I'm going to tell a little story to intro it. I was obviously lucky enough to make the debut at Walsall, and when I come back, and it was the local pub that we all go to, I obviously thought I'd done all right, even though I hadn't got man of the match against Plymouth. And someone said to me, yeah, you might have done all right, mate, but you need to go and watch Stephen Cooke play. You need to go and watch him play for England at Lilleshall. So that was the first time I heard your name. Yeah. I thought, right, who's this lad? I need to go and see what it's about, and actually travel with people to go and watch you at Lilleshall. So obviously I think that was around 14, 15.
I would have been 14 or 15, yeah.
But what I'd like to do to start, mate, is to take it all the way back. We're looking, hopefully, we both coach kids and we've got a passion for it, to take it back from when you started. Mm-hmm. Was it nature? Was it nurture? What age did you get involved?
In a team or just
to start with?
I just played, mate. I think I went to a couple of sort of like an ace, but it weren't obviously as big as this. It was, I think I went Parental's, Colts first, and they put me in goal. So I didn't bother there for a bit. And I think my dad just made a team up, all form Rangers.
Yeah.
Yeah, they were like a Saturday team, a non-league team at the times, whether it was semi-pro or a lot further down it might have been. But there, and they had like kids teams. I think they had about 3 or 4 teams, and we just started. I think it would have been under 9s we were allowed to play then. And I think that was the first time I started playing games. But just in general, the same as you would have been, school, kids. I think they don't let them play no more in the playground, I don't think, but we would have done, wouldn't we? And just outside with my dad, mainly in the back garden, nothing any different to any other kid.
Nothing too intense from
that?
No. How long, like say you started at 5 or 6, yeah. How long, obviously maybe not for you to realise, but how quickly did other people realise that you had would you say you had a natural ability for football young?
I don't know. My dad would probably say he could tell straight away. But the trouble is, when you go to a place like this, nobody watches you. They watch their own kid, don't they?
Yeah.
So, I mean, you can sometimes say, oh, he's a good lad, but most parents watch their own boy or girl. So I don't know what it would have been like from any other, but my dad said he knew straight away. Whether that's 5, 6, 7, I'm not too sure. A bit late, I don't know.
Because obviously we couldn't go into clubs as young as they do now.
Yeah.
So it was, like you say, maybe people do more unstructured play, whether that be concrete football at school, whether that be allowed to the park and playing for Hawthorn Rangers.
Yeah.
I think we got a lot more of that. In terms of your younger upbringing, because let's say Cookie would be around now, potentially you'd be in an academy from 6 or 7. What do you feel about that unstructured play maybe we did to what the children do now?
Obviously, like, it is great for them, isn't it, to go into a club and get obviously better coaching than we'd have got. You'd like to think the environment would have been nice to go in, get your training kit, what they all wear now, and things like that. I don't know, mate. I'm on the fence with it a little bit. I think they're going a bit too early, but then obviously it's like anything. If you don't take them in now and that club's taking them in, and people don't want to miss out. So I think is it pre-academies, 6, 7?
Yeah, so pre-academies probably from under 6 now that kids can go and do training, and obviously they can be offered forms by 8 to sign for the under 9 season. So what I'm saying is, and there's no right or wrong, but we didn't start teams till under 9.
Yeah, under 9s.
And they can be out of grassroots
by that. Yeah,
going to academy football.
Yeah, well, I played, my first season was playing under 9s, but I wasn't actually under 8, playing a year above. So I started earlier than a lot of the kids my own age. But straight away I come back down and played my own age straight away. and that was 11-a-side.
Yeah.
So there was no 5-a-side or 7-a-side, whatever it is. Which I see now, watching it, being insane, me playing 11-a-side. But I also think there was benefits to it as well.
In terms of not doing the mini soccer that you go through your 5v5 to your 7v7 to your 9v9.
Yeah.
What do you see as the benefits of that? Interesting.
What of me playing 11?
About playing 11 straight away than 5 or 7.
It's a real game, isn't it, for a start?
Yeah.
So more players on the pitch. You play 5-a-side, everything's to feet. And you know, you don't see anything because everything's near enough a pass. It's on AstroTurf, so everybody's playing to feet. And whereas when we played on grass, you know, I got used to play. My way to pass got better because I'd be trying to play through balls.
Yeah.
You don't play them on AstroTurf. You don't play in 5-a-side. Probably not 7-a-side. And I just thought, well, I was striking a ball. I was putting a bit of backspin on it because I'd realised quickly that them were the sort of things you needed to play men's football or adult football or even 11-a-side football, you call it now. Whereas kids now, I have kids come in to me at 12 and I say, clip it, and they can't do it. And that may be because from the age of 6 to whatever they're doing, 11, they don't have to do it. You don't see many kids doing it.
It's really interesting that because like Riley, who's behind us, we both know him, he's obviously my lad, but coaching when he went to Villa at 11, and I'd say Riley was and this is an interesting topic we'll maybe touch on, but I'd say Riley was an athlete first, footballer second at that point.
Yeah.
That they did a drill, and literally he didn't understand what they meant when I said like clip the ball.
Yeah.
Because like you say, on the AstroTurf, everything's to feet because it might run away. So that's a really interesting point of view because we've said now like kids don't play on grass as much, do they? They don't in the local leagues go to grass till under 11s, under 12, under 11s,
I believe.
9v9.
Yeah.
So everything 5v5 and 7v7 is on 3G facility now, and it has its benefits. Obviously, sometimes with
people are playing,
not get cancelled and they're playing. That's a really interesting point of view in terms of your skill set.
Yeah, and obviously playing 11v11, there's more. So I always say when I thought that I used to make the right decision, and when you play 11v11, you've probably got more options than just 5-a-side where it's the one pass. You're either passing or you're dribbling. Where 11-a-side, I was thinking of already trying to play at 8 or 9. Can I play in on goal?
Yeah.
Can I play passes in between people? Can I get in between people to receive it? Whereas now there's no room to do that with a mini soccer. So that was I thought was beneficial. Obviously they're not going to do it now, but that's what I thought. I'm not saying it's just might be other people.
No, look, I think like I said, and why I wanted you to come on the podcast is obviously we've talked football for a number of years. We're invested in it. We both run our own academies. We've got children that do it. But I've always thought they've sort of had thought-provoking point of views. I see benefits in having smaller-sided games in terms of contact time, time on the ball. Being a lesser player in 11v11, you could maybe have 8 to 10% of the ball. But then as a thing in terms of football intelligence, which is something I was going to come to, like you've said, there isn't the need to develop that in the 5v5 because you're passing or dribbling.
Yeah.
And as you've just said, I used to call it the Fabregas pass, but that way to pass, or that intelligence to where you pull into space, and it's something that'll lead me into it, which I always say to you. So you just touched on something which is intelligence. So it's something really key for me. So with your technique, obviously it wasn't structured in academy, and I'm obviously going to buff you up on this podcast. I remember us coaching them young Villa lads and you hitting the grass cutter.
Yeah.
And even me, I thought, oh God, he strikes that ball a little bit different. Was that working with yourself? I don't presume like here, someone was specifically coaching you how to strike or pass the ball. Was that just you and your love of the game? Yeah,
I was just kicking the ball. I changed it over the years as well. So it just depends how I felt on the day.
Right.
So if I wanted to play it a little bit different, I was just messing about with it. Like most people do, don't they? I mean, some people get a technique and stick to it.
Yeah.
And obviously you kick the ball different with your left than you would your right because it's not as natural. So I just tried to get it as much on my left and my right. So I just worked on everything on my left as I did with my right. But yeah, just general messing about, mate. No structure, nobody telling me what to do. Just like, go and do it.
So we're too structured now?
I don't watch enough top level football to say that. Bits I do watch, I find it a little bit, I wouldn't say boring, but yeah, predictable maybe. But in terms of the players that I grew up watching, or when I played that era, I just think it was a bit more technical.
Okay.
And people would say no, it's more technical. Centre halves have to be more technical now, but midfielders are technically better. But the defenders have to be technically better now.
Yeah.
But the players you want to watch, they're not technically better than what I was growing up watching. That's how I learned watching them.
So in terms of technical and like say the way you're thinking in intelligence and your pathway growing up to keep it to you, I presume separate to academy, you moved into schoolboy football?
Yeah, I played same as you, Walsall Schoolboys, weren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, I would have been the same, Walsall Schoolboys on a Saturday and Sunday, Hawthorn Rangers, until I was about 11, 12, and then Walsall, as I say, academy. It was a school of excellence then, wasn't it?
Yeah. So, and with you growing through, obviously you had a good youth career, I presume. And I remember you telling me years ago, you said with your dad that obviously potentially you were at the top of the pile in Walsall, and then did he say, "Well, wait to see where you are with West Midlands," and did that just continue to grow? Just telling everyone, at what age did you transition into playing and getting England trials and your next pathway?
So the national school trials, Lilleshall, which you mentioned at the start, that would have been at about under 12s. So that would have been just the Midlands area. That would have been at Oakham in Leicester. I think it was the best in the Midlands. There was about 32 kids. You went there for 3 or 4 days and just did a bit of training, and then they sent a report back, ABC, just give you 10 things, marked you down, away you went, and that was it. I didn't realise it was for Lilleshall. I just thought it was a bit of training, and that was it. Job done. But yeah, my dad was like, well, we'll just go there and see how you do and whatever. Yeah. That was it, really.
And for that, like, was that as a kid, was what I was thinking about, like with academy, I'm not saying there's more pressures on kids at all, but did you feel a pressure by that as a child, thinking, all right, I'm going to play with the best in the country? Yeah,
probably. Well, it was the best in the Midlands at the time. So yeah, I remember being at Walsall. Yeah, so I was always under pressure, but that was from myself.
Right.
It was just my character. I wasn't ever comfortable being around new people or in different groups. I just wanted to be with my mates and just play with my mates, really. So going to these trials and things like that, it weren't for me.
And was there anyone else who went from this local area? I mean,
there's a couple of lads from Walsall who went with me. Yeah, they come to the trials, but they're not. I think they were like Ben Willits. He's a West Bromwich lad, and the other lad who went with me, Ian Garbett. He's a Cannock lad. So yeah, they were from Walsall.
Yeah.
But there was like 3 or 4 from every Midlands club, really. Leicester, Forest. There's a couple from Crewe who were good at the time. Villa, Blues. It was just. And
what age would this have been, Cookie?
Under 12s.
Under 12s.
I think, mate.
At what age did you get selected? And obviously it doesn't happen now. It's different in terms of the England DNA and the pathway. And obviously, thank you. I got you to bring the top in. Yeah. This is your 19s match one top with rust and I don't know what from the the loft. But at what age did you get selected for the national school, and how did that feel?
So that would have been a process from under 12s all the way through to you get picked, and your first year there is under 15s. So it was like Midlands trials for about a year on and off going. And then they had one big trial at Rushden and Diamonds where you just played games.
Right.
And then they just sent you a letter to say you got through to the national trials, which was at Lilleshall. And then it was like 64 kids, down to 32, down to 16. So there was 3 trials at Lilleshall. And
at that age, what's interesting, obviously not just turning around, where did you play? Multiple positions?
No. I played up front until I was about 13. And then I went to that Midlands trial, actually, remember it, Rushden Diamonds. They played me on the right. I said, I've never played there before. And they went, that's all right. So they played me on the right. When I said, my dad was like, do you think you'll get in? I was like, I don't know what. Well, they've played me on the right, so they're probably just thinking we'll put him anywhere because we're not really that bothered about him.
Yeah.
You know, you're not like some, you get there and you get the feeling now they're not having me here. They stuck me on the right wing just because nobody else wants to play there or whatever. And my dad went, no, you never know, do you? And that was it. And we just went. And then they put me into the national trials, and that's when they got there and they said, right, I'm playing centre midfield. And I went, well, I've never played there either. And they were like, well, that's where you're going to play here. So, okay. And that was it, mate.
So in terms of like growing up, what's interesting is like, we talk about that, and this is what I really want to get across in terms of what we do now. Do you think children, because you're very thoughtful with it, do you think they should play multiple positions when you coach? Do you keep a child in a position you see that he's going to play?
Yeah, I don't put anybody anywhere. I don't think there's you've got to know the character, like the character of the kid, or is he going to not want to play there, or is he happy to play there? And you've got to see something in him to say, look, he's going to be a centre back, or he's going to be a right back or a left back. I mean, these days, a failed winger will be a right back and left back. It's easy to coach, isn't it? Sort of a winger and a full back.
Yeah.
It's the same thing now, isn't it? So, but with me, I think deep down, I was always going to be a midfield player. Never going to be a back-to-goal striker. But I didn't play it like that anyway. I dropped off a little bit.
So you play that sort of 10 role?
Yeah, just played there, basically. But if I'd have started playing mini soccer, I think I'd have been a midfield, just a midfield. Don't think I'd have played up front.
So as a youngster now, I mean, you don't think that kids up to, when they find their home and it's obvious where they're going to be, like people will say pick two positions to be able to play. I remember, obviously I was always a centre mid, and when I struggled to get in the Walsall team at about 19, mate, I'm not saying it was too late, but I remember Neil Poynton saying to me, you need to come and work with me to be a left back.
Okay.
And I said, I'm a centre mid. And that was an old school left back. So I'm not saying I wouldn't have had the pace the Monday, but it was just sit and serve, you'd zing it.
Yeah.
And that was probably my game. But I look back now and I think, God, if I'd have grown up, maybe having the option of being a left back and a centre mid. But do you see it that, like, say you look at your lad, you're looking at it and you think, well, I know where he's going to play. I know where he's going to be, so he should harness that. Is that how you see it?
Yeah. It's the same with me. I was never really going to play anywhere else. But if it was me managing me back then, I would have seen it.
Yeah.
My dad didn't really... I know he weren't bothered, I don't think. He was just like, just do what you want.
Yeah, so Lilleshall, I remember going there. It's very different. But so at that point in your youth career, you get selected for the national school and you go and live school in Shifnal, is that right?
School's in Shifnal, yeah. It's like a public school. You just go there, we used to get the coach to school, get picked up. That was it.
And just in terms of, like, say, name drop, well, what is there any names that the people who watch will remember who was in your age group?
There's 2 years there, isn't there? So the year above would have been Joe Cole's year.
Right.
He was the best I've seen.
At that age?
Young player, yeah. So there was Joe. Who else would have been in his year that might have... There were Danny Webber. Do you know Danny Webber?
Danny Webber was Man U, went to Sheffield.
Yeah. So Danny. There were some really good players in that. And then our group, obviously, Defoe was the one who was really made it. Leon Britton.
Yeah.
Midfield player.
Technically, yeah. Play Swansea.
Yeah, Swansea,
him,
Rob obviously went on to do well. Rob Edwards, who's Luton manager now. So Rob would have been there.
Was Leon Knight around your age group?
Leon Knight was there. He was probably as good as it gets at that age, I'd say.
Right.
So, yeah, my group was pretty strong. We were stronger than year above, apart from Joe.
Joe, it's interesting. I think it'd be interesting for the viewers that when I went with the Wales thing, I actually got told to go and meet the player who's going to be the next best player in the world. And I remember thinking, what's this geezer on about? It was David Partridge from West Ham. And the Milk Cup in Wales, you had to go round. And I literally went round to meet this scruffy little kid then, who must have been 14, 15. And I was 18, so I might be about 4 years older than you. And he literally sought him out in the West Ham team and said, Wayne, meet Joe.
Yeah.
As I walked off, was like, you'll be able to tell everyone you've met Joe Cole now.
Yeah.
And I always remember, and it's wants me to bring it to, I always remember thinking, oh, what a pressure for that kid, because he said to me, look, he's already been on the coach with Man U. He's already met Ferguson. So what I'm going to ask you here is like, one, obviously, you've gone to Lilleshall. At what age, when you got to there, did you think, God, I've got a real chance here. I'm as good as I thought I could be?
Yeah. Don't know if I ever thought it.
Okay.
Don't know if I ever thought that. I don't think it's like it is now. Do you know what I mean? It's more like nobody still really knew who he was, and it was just like that. But then I think when we got there, and they just went, look, you can't play for Walsall.
Oh, so you was at Walsall and you get picked for England?
Yeah. I said, look, like, you can't play for Walsall and England. It's not going to work. And my dad was like, yeah, probably best off. And they were like, listen, if you don't know where you want to go, just sign somewhere for 2 years. And once you leave here anyway, everybody's going to want you. You can take your pick, sort of thing. So that's when Man United had come in for me when I was about 13 and just said, don't sign for anybody. We want you when you're 14, because that was the restriction of the. But they wanted me before I got into Lilleshall, Man United.
And
so that would have probably
in
happened.
the modern day now, I don't think you would. You don't have it now, but it's a different subject. Kids are on Instagram and very visible. Like you say, you're a footballer when you're not now.
Yeah.
And it's a separate subject. Like you say, if a modern day person like you who'd want to be visible would have 10,000 followers at 13 and be a footballer before they are. But how did that approach come? Cookie were you living in Shelford? Like,
Yeah.
how did the approach come from Man United to you?
Called my house.
Right.
I think he's watched me a couple of times playing for the schoolboys.
Yeah.
And then Alex Ferguson rung my house, spoke to my mum.
Yeah.
Spoke to my mum, yeah. And just said, like, we want to sign him. Don't go anywhere. 14, we'll take him. And so I think I was always going to go.
Yeah.
But at that time, I was still at Walsall, and they were saying, look, you've got to move on.
Who was your youth coaches at Walsall? I mean, what ages are we talking here? Like mid-90s?
Yeah.
Was Eric McManus?
Eric was there, yeah.
Oh, okay.
And Bill was there. Bill Jones, yeah.
Bill Jones from Forest Star.
Yeah. But Chris Nicholl used to come and take some of the sessions. Who was your manager?
Yeah, I mean, look.
He used to just come in and, like, we'd be on the Aston, and he'd just come and go, right, lads, coming in. We'd be like, who's this?
Do you know what's mint? That's a separate subject, but obviously any of the viewers who don't know, obviously Chris Nicholl was my manager, and obviously he sadly passed, and his funeral was amazingly attended. But I always remember that Chris used to coach every age group.
Yeah.
He wanted to know the club. But so at that point, when Ferguson's called your house in Sheffield, was that when you've obviously gone up with the family? Obviously, I shared the picture
We
on social.
Yeah. So we went up and we had I think we had the weekend there. Like, put us in an hotel, went to the game. I can't remember the game was. Maybe Coventry. But he let me go in the changing room before the game, meet the players.
And what sort of, was that your Keane era?
Keane, Beckham, Scholes, Giggs. I think they just signed Sheringham, Cole, York. Stam. They were all top players.
Yeah.
You know. So that was that.
And how was it, Matt? Have you been at Lilleshall and been a Walsall lad? Was it just where you went down there on holidays and they kept tabs on you?
Man United, obviously they keep in contact with Lilleshall because you train there every day. You play games for them. I think I went to Man United. You go in the school holidays, but obviously being at Lilleshall, being away from home, when you had your holidays, your parents would say, well, come home for a bit. So I used to do like a week at home if it was a 2-week holiday, and then a week at Man United, going and train. I think I only played about 4 times in total.
How did you find that so young? Because you remember me saying you're quite sort of a quiet lad sometimes, keep yourself to yourself. Like, was that a real transition at your age to go and live away from home? Did you struggle with that? Did you enjoy it, Cookie?
I enjoyed it, yeah.
Okay.
I didn't want to at first, but looking back, it's probably the best 2 years of my life.
At Lilleshall?
Yeah. Just that 2 years, being around that group of lads.
And are those people, I know everyone goes in different directions and we know the stats, but are they people you still keep in touch with?
Yeah, we're on a group chat. It's quite quiet, you know, but, you know, now and again, you know, somebody a few things pop up and that. So we're on a group chat, and we still, if we wanted to talk to each other, we could anytime. So we got each numbers. But yeah, I'd say that 2 years, mate, was definitely the best.
And when you finish that then, and so then you're obviously training with England, but you're playing other international teams?
We played, so every Sunday we would play a Man United, a Man City, or they'd bring their team down to play us, because we were a group. And then you do your tournaments in the summer. So we'd do a tour. We probably went to America, played the States, but we'd play just tournaments. I think we had one in Iceland maybe, or Finland, I can't remember. That was like a Nordic tournament where you played all the Scandinavian teams. But yeah, you just played in the summer, really. You played.
And a couple, I'll put it out on socials for people to obviously genuinely ask the questions, but a couple of people said growing up, like who, if I can ask you that in that, when you played against the internationals and people, who was the best kid you'd say you come up against in that era where you thought, okay, this is a real player?
There was a few, mate, but you know what? I'll tell you who was really, really good. I don't know if you know him. He played for France, but he ended up being a City midfielder. Toulon, I think his name was.
Yeah.
Is it Jeremy Toulon?
I think so, but I know who you mean.
Mate, he looked old because like when he was 25, he had grey hair. Do you know what I mean? So, but when I played against him at under 16s, it may have been, he was a 10.
Right.
And he was outrageous. He would probably be a 1. There was another one I played against a kid from Mexico. So, you know, when you warm up, he warmed up on his own, not with the team. So I thought, he might be struggling. But he was tiny as well. He was really small, smaller than all of us, smaller than me. And his boots were taped up, actually sellotape, not even like, no, we played in Trinidad and Tobago, this tournament was. And he was the 10, and we come out in the tunnel. I thought, he's playing. You know, captain and everything. Oh, mate, it's outrageous. Honestly, he was left-footed. Nobody could get the ball off him. The pitch was awful. And he was insane. He was probably the best I've played against, but I don't know his name.
And if he went on to do...
mate, how good he was then, I'd have known if he'd have gone on to do something. He was outrageous. And then also we played Portugal, and I'd say Quaresma.
Yeah.
He was
what's the
outside the boot?
Yeah.
He just ruined us. Yeah. So I'd say them, like particularly, them are the ones that played against loads of good ones.
And in terms of the English lads that you're growing up with, then obviously, like you say, Defoe's says the most illustrious career.
Yeah.
And other players have had varied careers. Who was the one growing up who you were like shocked that didn't make it?
Okay. So I played with a lad called Jonathan Bewers.
I've heard that name, yeah. Did he get to Villa?
Yeah, but he actually he got released by Villa and actually went to Walsall for a bit, and he only played one game. So when we were kids and we went to the first ever Lilleshall trials, but the Midlands area, I think he got 10 A's.
Right.
You get your A, B, he got 10 A's for everything. He was brilliant, but he weren't, I don't know how like people look at players. So if you'd have watched me play, I wouldn't say I tried to entertain, but but he wasn't like that. But if you played against him, he just done everything right. So in terms of like, I thought he just does everything right. He's just amazing. But when he got to Villa, they ended up playing him at the back, and playing at right back, and he'd lost a yard. He wasn't overly fast as he got. See, this is how kids change, you know. Kids are rapid and then he got older and he wasn't as fast. And he was quite big at 14. And then when we got to Villa, I was probably taller than him, so he couldn't be a centre-back. So then when he played in midfield, he probably didn't have the brain then to, I don't know, mate, it was just weird, but he was unbelievable as a kid. Unbelievable, I'd say, from the age of when I first seen him 12 to 16. I just thought, he's nailed on to make it. Not so much when we got to 16, I wouldn't have said he was a cert then, but you know, when you first see somebody at 12, 13, I thought, he's Leon Knight as well. I would have said he was a cert to make it. And I know he'd played and he'd done well and he scored loads of goals, but Leon was
Leon above Defoe, was it?
So close.
Was close.
So close. I think the first season they both scored 50 goals for Lilleshall, like for our team. It was something like that. I think Jermaine was a better goal scorer and Leon was a slightly more of a footballer.
Right.
So when you played it into Defoe, he was spinning and shooting. Leon might set you back if you're lucky for a 1-2, but they were both shooting if they could. But yeah, we had Dan Nardiello as well. He's a Stourbridge lad.
Yeah, I do remember the name. But...
And Dan was a little bit different. He could play wide or whatever. And he just scored loads of goals. Craig Coates was more of a back to goal. He would play with you. But mate, they were all really, really good players. And to see some of them not even play professional football at all, that's a shock. You know, I'm not saying to go on and be outstanding top pros, but to see them not play, because some of the lads never went on to play.
And this is a thing, like a bit tongue-in-cheek when I called it what it was, that I've always said to people that journey from like playgrounds to the promised land, if you want to call it that,
yeah,
is so varied. Everyone else's is different. There's such stages to tick off. And I remember playing against players. There's a schoolboy picture for us at Walsall where there was only 3 lads at 14 not in academy.
Yeah.
And there was only 2 lads made pro, and 2 of us were Dean Keats and me, and we weren't in academy at the time.
Yeah.
Because just coming out or whatever, so it's so varied. Someone said, obviously, you've come out of Lilleshall. Did you then go and live in Manchester with
No, I left.
You left?
2 years, and Rob Edwards, a good mate of mine, John Bewers, who I mentioned, both at Villa. And I just thought, looking at that United team, they just won the treble. And I think they were just buying Varane. And I was thinking, like,
and how old was you? That was 16?
I was 16, but like, the problem was, I was getting told that I was this and that, and like, it's hard then. Then I started to think, hang on a minute, where am I going to go and play?
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not saying Villa was easier to get in, because at the time Villa was a top 4 club. They'd just finished 5th or 4th in the league. It wasn't Champions League spot then, but they'd just finished 4th the year I signed. I was close to signing for Derby from Man United. Man United.
And why would we? I mean, a couple of questions there then. Do you regret leaving Man U?
Yeah, that's the worst mistake I've ever made in my life.
Right, okay, because someone asked it, I said, and then I said, do you have any regrets? But there we go.
That's it, yeah, 100%.
Because you feel like you were trying to, rush it? Was it? Did you have an agent? Did they influence?
PFA looked after me.
Right, okay.
But there was a lot of people at Derby who worked for the FA.
Okay.
And me being at Lilleshall, connected the FA and everything, they were like, listen, and they're like, we met them at the services, and they just put some money on a paper and just said, that's what we'll give you. And
who's this Derby?
Yeah, I just give it to my dad. My dad was like, my dad was like, okay, hang on.
It's a little bit different to the Larry Hotel.
Yeah, mate, but Man United was a different world. And I went down and had a meeting with Alex Ferguson and a few people, and they offered me I think it was a 1-year YTS at the time and a 4-year pro contract, which is obviously like, I don't know if they get that now. I don't know what they do it. But yeah, they offered me that, and it was sort of, well, they obviously value this, you know, that.
Yeah.
And he was like, well, what do you want? And I said, what do you mean? He went, why don't you want to sign? And I was like, well, I just think I want to go home or whatever. And he went, well, you can go home. You can get the train home after every game if you want, and we'll do it like that. I was like, yeah. I don't know what to say then.
Yeah.
It was quite awkward telling Alex Ferguson.
Was he intimidating for a young kid, or was he good with you?
No, he was great with me, but obviously it's intimidating for me, isn't it? From that.
Yeah.
I don't know, mate. Worst thing I ever did, but yeah. And he says, well, what do you want then? I was like, I don't know. And he was like, so do you want loads of wages or a big signing on fee? And my dad was like, you shouldn't even, you know. So they were going to give me a massive signing on fee and then a normal wage, so to speak, for that time period, whatever he was in. And he says, oh, do you want a small signing on fee, a normal one, and we'll just give you a massive wage? Which way do you want to do it? And I was like, I just don't think I want to do it full stop. And he said, just go away and have a think about it. Then it was easier to say no once I was away, but once I was in there, it was quite hard, yeah.
So in terms of they allowed you to go, did Villa have to pay compensation?
Yeah, they had to pay money, yeah. Villa did. Villa had to pay it. I don't know how much it was, mate. It could have gone up to quite a bit, I believe. But I heard it was close to like around $1 million.
Right.
depending on.
And at this age, what, you 16?
I was 16 then, yeah.
So obviously, and again, someone not in great health, but obviously a legendary figure around these parts. We both know him well. You know him better than me. I think he was your coach, but Sid Cowan said when you went to Villa, I can see the quote that you were one of the best talents he viewed to come out of Villa. Was Sid your coach there at Villa?
Yeah, we had different coaches. Kevin McDonald, Tony McAndrew, and Sid would have been coach, yeah.
But even in the youth team, was it mapped out? Was your progression? Were you looking at it thinking, I'm not here to play youth team reserves?
Yeah.
What age can I get in?
But they gave me a squad number. I think I was 16 when they gave me my squad number. I trained with the first team. The reserves trained with the first team. I was with the youth team, and they needed a player from the youth team to go and play for the reserves, just against the first team. So I joined in, played in that, and then the gaffer just pulled me after.
And just remind everyone to go back then. Who's gaffer of Villa? What players?
John Gregory.
Villa? Okay.
Then they were strong, like Gareth Southgate, Ian Taylor, Dion Dublin, Lee Hendry, Merce, Gareth Barry, Alan Wright, Mark Delaney. I think that was when I first got there. That group.
And just as I see that, like when Rooney said it, and you've gone through all these stages. When you go and play with them top pros, how was it? Did you think, "No, I'm all right. I belong here"?
Yeah, well,
I
was 16 when so it's a little.
But I mean, technically, I know you played it.
Yeah.
Because sometimes it's better to play higher.
Of course,
with better intelligent players, if you can play. Did you straight away think, right?
Yeah,
I've got what I need here. Forget the physicality for a minute. Technically and intelligence, did you feel like, right, I can play this level of football?
Yeah. No, I never thought that I wouldn't be able to play it. It wasn't a case of me going over thinking, oh, will I be able to play? It was just my character of being anxious around it anyway, not the football side. That didn't bother me. But yeah, within that session, I think the gaffer stopped it after 20 minutes and just said, everybody get a drink, and then just pulled me out. He said, where you from? He didn't know who I was. And he just said, well, how old are you? I said, 16. He said, okay, we got a League Cup game next week. You can play.
So is this fast forward to your debut?
Yeah, but it didn't happen.
I'll go on and talk through.
Because the compensation hadn't been agreed between the two clubs.
Right.
And he pulled me and just said, look, we can't play you because if we do, it's obviously going to go even more. And you'd think back in the day what would money was, but it's not like now. They wouldn't be bothered about that now, would they? Oh, the kid's going to play, he might have to pay an extra 250 grand. But back like 20 years ago, a little bit different. So he said, yeah, it's not gone through, so I've been told like you can't play, but you can come and be in the squad. And I think I was in the squad then for about 6 or 7 weeks. Not on the bench, but and you go and travel. I think they just took me to help with the boots, the away games, or put the kit away and stuff like that, make the coffees on the bus.
So when did you finally make your debut?
17. It was the pre-season after, the qualifiers for the Europa League. It would be now.
Okay.
And I was at college on the morning because you had to do the college, didn't you? And I just got a phone call saying you need to take your boots and be at the training ground for, I think we're leaving at 5, something like that. That was it. Just turned up and he just pulled me. He says, you're playing tonight. And I said, what, starting? He went, no, you're not going to start. He said, you're going to play though. I said, okay. I'm not sure if he was Celta Vigo. It was the second leg and they were good at the time. I remember watching the game. I thought, oh, do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And he said, right, go and warm up to the subs. And I never went. And he just shouted down. He said, Cookie. And he shouted. And I weren't there. He went, where's he gone? And I was just, I don't go. I was just behind him. He just turned around and said, you want to go on or what? I said, yeah, right then. And then he just put me on. Yeah, I was 17, just gone. So it was the summer. So I'd have probably been 17, about 4 months. And that was it. And it was enjoyed that. That was probably the highlight of everything. Obviously playing for England youth as a kid, representing your country's a little bit different, but I didn't want to play for England youth. I wanted to play for England first team. To do that, you've got to play for the Villa first team. So every time I used to go away, called up for international duty, I was like, how long am I away for? Do you know what I mean? Oh, you're away 2-3 weeks to the European Championships. I'm like, yeah, but I want to be here. I want to be training with the first team. You want to be playing. But so it happened. I was quite young to get in. And then John Gregory was great with me, really good, and all the players was.
And you played other games for Villa. I know
Yeah, come on.
I know in terms of your youth career, you didn't have the minutes at Villa that you would have liked, or maybe your pathway you'd have thought. But you played some league games in.
It was different, mate. Yeah, I played for Villa. I played against United. Obviously, that was great. Leeds, Chelsea, a few other games. But I think what people didn't realise that it's a lot different now. Me playing for Villa reserves at 16 and being captain and being told, listen, you do what you want, we'll get the ball to you, is completely different when you come on against Man United and they go, right, we can't just get the ball to you now because we ain't going to have it for a start.
Yeah.
So what are you going to offer us?
Yeah.
So like now they would tactically help me, wouldn't they, off the ball a lot more than then. Whereas every game I played, mate, literally do what you want and we will get you the ball. And then it's your job to do what you do. So it was great because everybody enjoyed it. We won loads of games and I looked great scoring goals or whatever. But when you're going into the Premier League, playing against them top players, you know, it's like, what are you going to offer us off the ball? And it weren't a lot.
In terms of that, I mean, it's a question I want to ask you. I mean, obviously, you had clear technical ability and obviously intelligence, and people don't build a team like that. In the aspects of learning it off the ball, or was there other things like you felt yourself you should have done more?
Yeah.
With just the ability you had, I'm not saying that'd be a curse, but do you feel like there's other elements to your game now? If you're coaching you, is there the bits you're saying, well, look, that's great, but you go to these?
Yeah, I think so. From a young age as well. So it's like, but it's weird, isn't it? Because if I'd have been Spain and Italy or Portugal, they'd left me alone, I'd have still played. Then I would have made it. Yeah. Playing the way I played. I'd have just fit into a system. Because over here it was 4-4-2 as well. Yeah. You know what I mean? And over there it's always been a little bit different. The game was played a bit different. Not better, just differently. So that would have helped me a little bit. But yeah, I just think when you play in this country, the demands off the ball are a lot more. It's a lot more physical. And yeah, just...
One question I'll ask you, because I don't want to forget, so a couple of people have got questions in, is a parent, and I've done this naive at all, put forward and said, what advice could you give my child to get to where you got to?
At what age?
I mean, the person asking, the kid's about 6.
Just play. There's nothing else, is there?
No.
I don't see. Yeah, I find it quite.
Because what I want to ask you, being straight, is I talk about, and I don't talk about this in a bad way of, like, say, the parent trap.
Yeah.
If you want to call it, or you want to call it the race to the bottom. The things I like to speak to someone like you about there is, like, at 6, it is to play and it is to enjoy it. To predict that is...
You would never have watched me play at 7 and 6 and said, right, in 10 years you're going to be a Premier League player. It's impossible, mate, to do that. You wouldn't have done it. So this is how I always look at me now. If I played in this modern, the way it is, you said to me earlier you'd be in an academy. I wouldn't. Right.
So why wouldn't you?
Because I'm not what they're looking for, and I'm also. I say I'm not what they're looking for. I don't want to sound arrogant here or anything. I'm not sure they know or see.
Well, so there's certain academies, whether that be the scouts or the coaches within it, see what they need to see.
Yeah. In terms of long term.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it's great now because I get it as well. By the way, I hear them say, "Oh, he doesn't move very well."
Yeah.
Completely get it. Because I used to watch kids who I play against, and I thought, "He don't run like a footballer. You know, he don't move very well. I can do this, I can do that." So, but I was really small and frail. So definitely would have, struggled physically. Because the kids who play it now are a lot bigger than when we played.
Yeah.
So this is how I look at it. England under 9s, let's say. Me playing now, I don't get in it. I don't get in your England under 9s.
Why? into, because there's a shift in what people are looking for versus what they did then. So when we talk about, which I always loved, I'm not saying this is right or wrong, but I read a thing when I first started. This is years ago with Ace, and I think it's a Johan Cruyff method that he called it TIPS.
Yeah.
So you look at technical, he thinks technique's king.
Yeah.
Then intelligence, personality, and specifics. I remember head of academy years ago, locally around here, turned it on his head.
Okay.
He said, I'm looking for spit. I want specifics first, speed, power.
Okay, yeah.
And then I want personality, because I can coach intelligence and technique.
No, you can't. It's impossible.
I found that really interesting. So
it's impossible.
Do you disagree? Do you think there's too much of a shift towards spit over tips?
Yeah, but I'm not. Yes, I think you need a middle ground, a little bit. Do you know what I mean? I can't. You definitely cannot coach intelligence. It's impossible. I don't care what whoever tells me they can. That's impossible.
So is that you got it or you haven't?
Yeah, you're born with that.
So what if you haven't got it?
You got no chance.
Have you got a chance if you build the other bits?
Yeah.
But you haven't got a chance to build intelligence?
No.
Because I remember being on the pitch with you a few years ago, and we were talking, and it was thought-provoking for me. Like, obviously there's certain lads who might have ex-pro dads or relatives, and they have intelligence.
Yeah.
So whether that be passed on or be around people, what I find interesting, and we've had the chats about, is you might have a player who's got the S and the P, but he needs to play with the T and the I.
Of course, yeah.
That's what makes a team.
Yeah, like I said, I mean, I could only play one way. So I was gifted. Technique come after for me. I was born with a brain, the actual brain to play the game. And then the technique was built by playing. And then as I got older, it just was maintained by playing, not got any better. You just
so your advice, if we talk pre-academy now and call it foundation, you're clear, even someone like yourself who had the youth career you did, is just play.
Just play, mate.
Enjoy it.
Just play, enjoy it.
What's your advice to the parents' support of that?
Drop them off and go home, or drop off and go somewhere else. I just think we coached, didn't we?
Yeah.
My session would run a lot better if the parents wasn't here. Obviously, there's safeguarding issues around that and things like that. But you get a lot of kids looking towards the parents and for advice, and they can't help you. You're playing, but parents do. I think put a lot of pressure on the kids or whatever. I mean, all I ever say to Stephanie is, look, just make sure you try. Sometimes you're travelling an hour to play. Parents are great, and they're the most important people for the kids, because they're never going to get there without them. They take them around, they pay for the extra sessions that they may do or may not want to do. I don't know if they're doing one-to-ones and stuff like that. But just drop them off, go and have a walk. And
it's interesting, as like Ace has built, and I've learnt along the way, like obviously with my three lads, I've never done less with Brody.
Yeah.
And he's never flourished more, which is quite, I'm not saying it's environment, and like you say, when they cross the white line, trusting in the coaches and trusting them just to go and develop.
Yeah.
I think you made a real key point. I used to say to people, if a kid is constantly looking for the parent young, it's for validation, but it's not a great thing.
No.
Because when you're invested in something that you love, you're not thinking where dad is.
No,
Mum is on the side.
Yeah.
You're in that game and you're there to play it.
Yeah. That's so my dad drove me everywhere, and then we got back in the car and he never said a word.
Did you sometimes need it?
No.
I mean, you knew where you was.
Yeah, you do. You know, don't you? I think as a player, I know if I've played bad, I know if I've done all right, I know if I've played well, and I just think these kids now just need a bit of guidance, a bit of encouragement, anything that's positive for them as a parent that you can do. I just think that they're scared now that they're missing. I get a lot of people text me who kids 6, can you do a one-to-one session? I'm like, just let him play. Find a group where he can go and play and just run around and have fun. If he's good, you'll know, but he's not kicked a ball yet. So I'm still in touch with John Hackett, Villa Scout, who watched me.
Yeah.
And John's like, if I see any players, I'll send them to you. 6-year-old dad ringing me up. He needs to do scanning. I was like, you don't. I said, he don't. I said, just leave him, let him play. He said, really? He said, yeah. So he's not missing out on anything. You know, when he's a bit older, if he needs a bit of help. They need to develop some instincts.
Yeah.
And you can see then whether they've got a football brain or not. And then, look, you can, like I said, I don't think you can ever teach intelligence. You know, if that was the case, I think if you could coach it, everybody would be a footballer, wouldn't they?
Yeah.
If it was just down to coaching, you know. I don't think anybody gave Messi's game IQ or a Fabregas or these players who rely on it, because they do rely on it. I relied on it to get where I went. Fabregas couldn't run really. He's not fast, weren't strong, but his technique. But it would have been his brain first.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
But I think what's interesting as kids develop is like, look, it's 8-10 years of coaching kids, and you're coaching kids and we're invested in it. But I hope that element doesn't get overlooked, because sometimes I spot it and you'll see a little lad who's struggling physically.
Yeah.
You'll see him maybe out of position, but all of a sudden you see that sort of game intelligence and you think, right, you
can't see it till 11 aside.
Yeah.
This is the thing with playing the small-sided. You know, if I come up now against a kid playing 6v6 and he's a foot bigger and he's bigger and stronger, he's gonna run all over me, and that's fine. But if I played against him in 11 aside 4 or 5 years later, it would be completely different, absolutely different. So this is how I see it. I wouldn't play for England under 9s, but I'd have played for England under 16s.
So when the game gets to 11v11, which I've said to parents sometimes, that's when the game gets real.
Yeah, real, yeah.
And that's where you can start to make that viewed opinion that, right, okay.
Yeah, listen, you might be too late. You might blossom too late for academies, because obviously they're probably not looking for kids after 13, 14 that they're a bit naive to go. But I know some academies take kids in from non-league clubs at 17, 18 or lower league clubs, which is still great, you know, because kids out there deserve that chance. But I just think, you know, some of these, especially like at the Cat 2, Cat 3 clubs, if you're a late bloomer at 16, or you're not going to get you, they can't afford to keep you around there, can they?
No.
So you're gone. So if you're that, you know,
there's some of the bigger clubs now with the survivors, like June, July, August birthdays, that'll give 3-year scholars.
Okay.
There's one they can afford to, and they know statistically that survivors, as you call it, make their debuts later.
Yeah, of course.
So I think things like that is good. But like you say, I remember as a young age, I think if you weren't in and around the squad at Walsall by first year pro, at least second year, you're gone.
Yeah, of course.
Because they weren't going to have the...
Yeah. And obviously it depends if you are a late bloomer and you do rely on your brain. But like I said, it doesn't mean... I'm not saying everybody has to be a brain-first footballer.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't say Harry Maguire was a brain-first footballer, but he's a footballer. Yeah. But for the position I played and to be a midfield player and be that type, it had to be that way for me, because I wasn't nothing else, you see. But there's other kids that you can see if they've got raw pace and they play wide, can they improve on their first touch or their cross or their decision make, just their end product? They don't have to be an absolute world-class thinker, do they? And always be scanning and be on the half turn. Half the time they receive the ball and they're not behind them. So they've got nothing to think about really in terms of, I'm just saying for the way I played, to be always on the half turn, looking to find space. It's not always the case, is it, with different players?
And to bring it full circle, I mean, we haven't talked too much about, obviously, you finishing your career. It was injury and different bits. But to fast forward now, you coach kids like myself. Yeah. You run your own academy. Does that still give you a love of the game? Do you feel like you're giving something back for what you did?
Yeah, because I can't do anything else anyway. But I can't. You know what I mean? I can't. I am useless. I'll admit that. Anything else, I'm not. So people go, oh, you talk to people about football. Yeah, because I don't know about anything else. Do you know what I mean? Apart from the weather, that's doing me head in at the minute. But it's just, I think so, mate. My passion was obviously playing, like you would have been. And
we both know it's hard to transition.
It is.
We haven't talked about that, but
no, that's another conversation for another day, I think. But coaching some of the lads, you do meet like parents obviously get the blame, don't they? But they just want their kids to do well, like anything they do. I just think football now, it's completely off the scale with social media, which I think we might have said about Instagram and stuff like that, putting your kid on. And
I mean, look, I mean, like, don't get me wrong. I mean, me and you, I'm different. I mean, I maximise social media in the business content.
Of course, yeah.
But what I would say is, like, for me, Brodie's 9 and he's a reasonable footballer. He's not having an Instagram page. I don't believe whatever the laws are. I don't think that's right. I think the kid needs to just have no pressure. Because I never forget Riley going to his secondary school and his Instagram page by 12, 13 was at Villa Athlete. He went there as the Villa player. And within 3 months, they released him. And I know that affected him.
Of course.
Because he's built his persona around being a footballer. So all I'm trying to do, hopefully, when I speak about things like that to parents, is I say to them, like, if your kid's 6 or 7 and he's got an Instagram page, we could be as, say, give your head a wobble. But I'm saying, look, I don't think that's for the best interest of the child. And I think anyone advising you that's wrong. Like you've just said, just let them play. Shoulder them from everything else. Let them develop through and play football and see where they get to.
Yeah, I mean, there's not... When people do talk about development, I know it's the word now, isn't it? Development this, development that. I mean, they don't have to develop. They can just play. You know, they can just... You know, as long as they like it, there's a level for every kid to play. And I think it's not looked at enough now where people are like, it was brutal when I was a kid because there's no way I'd be coming off the pitch if I was playing. I'm not doing even game time. Do you know what I mean? I'm not coming off. So I'm playing. But now looking at it as a parent, of course, everybody needs to play, you know, and that's just the way it is. But I just think there's levels for kids as well. If you can't see that your lad's struggling, you know, if I was my lad was struggling in the team and he weren't doing great, and I sort of think, well, the coach is off, expecting me to go over and say, look, I'm going to pull him out. Because they don't ever want to tell your child that he's not good enough or he's struggling. But I'll take him to a team where he'll do a bit better and get a bit more confidence, you know. And I just think that's where it's key, where parents probably don't know football that well. Wouldn't know if their child is struggling. Unless you see him on the side all the while. If you've got a coach who's like not going to play him. So there is that to it. So it is massive now, kids football, bigger than it's ever been. But the only thing I would say is just bring them and just let them run around and play. So
for the future, for you, can you continue, coaching children? Is that the way you see the pathway?
Yeah, like I said, mate, I can't do anything else. I do like time off. I do like to go and watch Steph play for somebody else. It's a breather for me because I imagine with Brodie and with all your lads underneath, you've coached your kids' teams. It's full on with him, as I should imagine it is with any parent who coaches a kid in their team. So when he goes go to the Wolves and does the talent centre on a Monday, it's like, there you go.
It's a nice release, isn't it?
Yeah, and you can just sit there. I mean, some of the training I don't watch. Do you know what I mean? I like to go and I'll chat to I've got quite friendly with a couple of the other dads there and things like that. And it's good to meet different people and how'd you get on the weekend and stuff like that. And then they're just training.
Yeah.
You know, but then you're up there sometimes and people are like, had any feedback? You spoke to him? What does he reckon? He's saying, do
you know what? I purposely, after years, and I genuinely do it, you know I do, we're both there at the Wolves on a Monday night. I can actually not be watching the session because I watch so much football. But if Brodie comes off all right, I'm sometimes under pressure because he's like, have you watched that? You've seen that goal?
Yeah.
And I just want him to go and play. I think for yourself, I've said, and to culminise it, I've watched you coach for kids for a few years. You're very thoughtful with it. And I think locally the kids are privileged to have someone. I know they give us more back than we give them.
Of course they do, yeah.
But I think they're privileged to have your sort of mentorship, so keep doing it. Cheers. One thing we're going to do before we finish is everyone's got to do it, is we want everyone who does the podcast and hopefully moving forward to name their five-a-side team. So I want you to name the five-a-side team of all the players you played with. Who would be your 5-0 team?
No keepers.
You probably wouldn't play with a keeper, would you?
No.
If you don't want a keeper, you haven't got a keeper.
No, I wouldn't have a keeper. Wouldn't have a keeper. Ooh. we're going off friendships here, or what we're doing. Just whatever.
Friendships. I think you're cut to the bone. I want your best five-a-side team to go.
Because the people might see. Okay. I'll tell you what I'll do. I'll go with the players who I actually. So it's all right me saying like these players who played with at Villa, but it's like, how often did you play with them? So I'll go with players who I played with as a young player then.
Yeah.
So I would have Jonathan Bewers, who I mentioned. And obviously, people might not know John because he never went on to make it, but he was outstanding. But I ain't got to have any more defenders, have I?
No, you can do what you want. It's your five-a-side team.
Okay. Joe Cole. Can't have Robin, can I?
He's your mate. Do you want a job at Luton? You putting him in?
I don't want a job at Luton. He wouldn't give me one either. Stephen Moore. He's the
Tamworth now.
He's at Villa. He does the young lads, I think.
Oh, okay.
I spoke to him recently. So the best I've ever played was when I played with him.
So you connect with that player?
Yeah, it was just that connection. Obviously, Defoe would be better than Steph, and he wouldn't mind me saying
Is
that.
he in this team? So I was going to write Defoe.
He's got to be there. So, but in terms of me playing with him, like if he had the ball, he would play me. Where if I passed it to Jermaine, he ain't passing me back.
Yeah.
So for me, Steph would have been great.
Who's the last one? Is it you?
No, I can't put myself in. Go on, I'll put Robin. He can be a midfield player. He can be a midfield player. Yeah, but mate, there's loads who I haven't said. Obviously, played with some unbelievable players. But they're my mates. Do you know what I mean? And I've missed a few out there, I think, who deserve to be in it. But it's just your pals, isn't it, I suppose?
Yeah. Well, look, that's maybe a good way to finish in terms of football when people, maybe their expectations. I've always said to this, some of my best friendships and connections have come from football, and we're not football anymore. So like you've just said, football is so much more than the game.
Yeah,
let them play, let them enjoy. There's lifelong friendships, there's memories. But can I just say, like, obviously, for someone, lots of people are interested. There's loads of stuff I didn't know there. So thanks for your time. Everyone's gone and we're still here.
Riley's out. Yeah.
Everyone's gone. So Cookie, thanks so much for your time.
No problem, mate.
Keep doing what you're doing with the kids.
Cheers, mate. Thank you.
Top man.